game, Fantasia. After the success of Castle of Illusion, Mickey became a big video game star. But the success went to his head and quickly took him on a downward spiral. Just listen to the testimony of a close friend.
Are you sure they won't recognize me? Gosh, okay.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Joe from the Wrong Channel, and right now I'm gonna give to you this thing that I've made. It's just stupid. Hi everyone, it's Joe from the Wrong Channel, and welcome to the second installment of Retro Review, where we at the Wrong Channel review retro video games from our childhood. Today is going to be a family-friendly video game, but it's not going to be a family-friendly review, and you'll see why real soon. So about a month ago, I was at a pawn shop and came across Mickey Mouse's Castle of Illusion for the Sega Genesis. This is actually a really fun platformer for the Genesis, and we didn't grow up with the Sega Genesis, and like I said in a previous video, I'm not sure why I wanted to get this so bad, but I did. So when I found it, I picked it up for $3. It was a good find, and it's a really good game actually. Like I said, we didn't grow up with the Genesis, so we didn't really have too much exposure to the Genesis games. However, this one I actually did play for a brief amount of time when I was a kid, because one of my friends had a Genesis and had that game. So that was a fun game. I enjoyed playing it. Has nice music, has good gameplay, controls very nicely, good visuals, and I was on a retro game hunt today at the local G2K, and I came across Fantasia. Now, I know nothing about this game, but I figured it must be like Mickey's Castle of Illusion, right? Right? Oh, how wrong I was. Okay, so let's break it down. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Here we go. The good. Now this game is based off the movie Fantasia by Disney, and that movie didn't have a plot whatsoever. It was comprised of many different musical pieces with animations set to each piece. So when it comes time to make a game based on that kind of thing, you kind of have some freedom to work with, right? Well, I'd imagine so, but I'll get into the bad later. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Back to the good. This game is largely about the music because it is based on the Fantasia movie. So even though the Genesis was kind of limited as far as its musical capabilities, you know, you can still get a good idea and feel of what they were going for as they were trying to recreate the musical pieces from Fantasia. So I'll give them an A for effort for that one, and it really does sound pretty decent for the Genesis. And aside from the music, you know, the visuals are pretty nice too. It's got a lot of animations going on as far as the enemies and Mickey's keyframe movements. And as far as that goes, it all looks very nice. And unfortunately, that's all I can really say good about this game. Here comes the bad. And there's a lot of it. So like I said, this was a blind buy for me, but I was going on what I had experienced with Castle of Illusion, which again, great game. You'd think this one would be as well, but not so much. So the first immediate problem that you run into in this game is Mickey controls incredibly slowly. There's a delay as soon as you hit a button, so that's no good. And he seems slow in his movement when you actually are moving anyway. And that's a big problem in any video game. So right out the gate, that's a big problem. Another problem this game has, it's a platformer, and you're trying to get from one side of the screen to the other, but you can't jump on the enemies to damage them, or you get damaged yourself. Now this was also semi-true in Castle of Illusion, but there was an attack for the jump. You just had to push down and you would like butt bash the enemies, and that would kill them. There's no option for that in this game, unfortunately. So if you hit an enemy, when you jump on it, you're getting hurt. And I believe you can get hit 4 or 5 times before you die. But there is a way to combat these enemies that you run into. And that is, you get some kind of ranged attack, which looks like a musical magic kind of attack, which gets replenished by these flying books that you see throughout the level. And there might be more later on in the game, but for now, all that I've seen are just the flying books. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but there's a reason for that. So, one final bad thing, I'm sure there's more, but I'm only gonna stop at this. One final bad thing about Fantasia is that there are so many enemies. You start off with that ranged attack, but it's a limited supply. So you can only use it maybe 5 or 6 times, and then you're out until you get more books. And like I said, you can't damage the enemies with your jump attack, because you'll get hurt. So that ranged attack is all that you've really got going for you. You run out of that, and it's basically you have to dodge all of these enemies, and there are so many enemies in the levels. You've got to just jump perfectly, and all the while dealing with those slow, horribly responsive controls that Mickey has. That is a big problem. On to the ugly. And it is ugly. I will admit, up front, I only played this game for about 15 minutes just because of how horrible the controls are and everything else about the game. You know, you run out of that ranged attack and you're just dodging all of these enemies, and it's not so much to say like, oh, well, there's a lot of platformers that are like that, and they're great games. Maybe you just can't handle it because it's too difficult for you. Bitch, I had this set on easy, and that didn't help much. You still have to deal with the drawbacks the game has inherently. And let me tell you, there are a lot of them. I mean, the movement, the controls, the responsiveness of that, how slow Mickey is, how quickly you run out of your only attack, dodging all of these freaking enemies, and just the slightest hit from the tip of a broomstick when you're standing on a platform, that's enough to hurt you, unfortunately. And that happens more often than you would think. I didn't even beat the first level, and I'm not ashamed of that. You know, that just tells you how horrible this game is. I got through the first section of the first level to the second section of the first level where you have to jump on frog pads. No, they're not frog pads. Lily pads! What the fuck was I thinking? You have to jump on lily pads that are moving across a body of water. And you jump in the water, of course it hurts you. So, jumping on these tiny lily pads that are floating back and forth, with the controls that this game has, you can see where the problem comes with that. Especially after you already have gone through the first section of the level where you're dodging all of these enemies trying not to get hit. You may have already accrued some damage in that part, so if you screw up on this water part, you're dead. And that's exactly what happened to me. I got to the water part, jumped, and because of the controls, I didn't make the lily pad the way that I should have, landed in the water, but it didn't kill me immediately. 2 hits from the water and I was dead. And you know, I was just like, screw this. This is no Castle of Illusion. Fantasia. It's not the best movie, especially after they redid it in the modern times. Well, when they updated it, like in the last 10 years sometime. I'm not the biggest Fantasia fan. I like the music, but as far as the movie goes, I'm not a big fan of Fantasia. The music, yes. The film, not so much. Although Night on Bald Mountain, that is pretty sweet. You got that giant demon causing havoc on that town and all those little imps running around and shit. That's some pretty cool stuff. This game is not cool stuff. This game is some crap. Oh man, what happened? To go from Castle of Illusion, which was awesome, to this turd sandwich. I would not eat this if it was the last thing on Earth to eat. And I'm not going. What the fuck? There's a smudge on this too. Probably more cat shit. Sadly, this is like probably the worst blemish that Sega has, because they're usually pretty good with their Disney games. I mean, like The Lion King and Aladdin. Aladdin for the Genesis is arguably better than the SNES version. I mean, they actually give you a sword in that game. No sword in the SNES version, though. You get freaking apples. Just throw them at those stupid Arabians. Take the freaking apples and sauce them and pie them. Or whatever you do with those apples back in your time. The Arabian Nights. Whatever. I got a little carried away with that one. Yeah. So I don't know where they went wrong with this. Like I said, usually the Disney games on the Genesis are pretty good. This one, not so much. It's like they put all their focus into the music and into the graphics, and everything else was just like an afterthought. Because those are most certainly where the problems lie. Too many enemies on the screen at one time. I mean, it doesn't slow the game down, it's just more enemies than should be there that you have to dodge. Because you'll be dodging because you'll be running out of your ranged attack, which again, is your only attack. So I might try to play this some other time when I'm extremely bored and don't want to play any of the other games that I have for whatever reason. Maybe I'm a sadist all of a sudden. No, that would make me a masochist, wouldn't it? Whatever. I either want to harm myself or receive the pain. It's something like that, I don't know. Sadomasochism in there, whatever. It's not a fun game. It gets old really quick. I could probably get farther in the game if I actually tried, but you shouldn't have to actually try on the first level of a game, especially on easy mode. Easy mode, you should basically just be able to walk through that mother, you know? I mean, this is kind of in kin with The Rocketeer. Holy crap, we never got past that first level. Who thought that was a good idea? Ah, sure, it's flying circles on this plane that you can never control correctly. We'll give you a little tiny screen that you're supposed to look at, and the other planes will fly around too, but they'll always beat you because you don't know how to fly a plane. This game has shooting and some action and later on in the parts of the game, but you're not gonna get to them because you can't fly the plane because you're stupid goddamn Rocketeer bullshit. That's another fucking stupid game. I'm not even gonna try to talk about that one because it's pointless. Everyone knows about the Rocketeer. Why am I talking about the Rocketeer? We were talking about Fantasia. That's just how bad this game is. You just can't keep focus on it because of how bad it is. Fuck you, Fantasia. Fuck you, you Milky Mouse. Fucking Milky Mouse. Yeah, okay. So Fantasia, the good and the bad and the ugly. The bad and the ugly definitely outweigh the good in this. I mean, it's hard for me to find bad parts of a good game because like I'm too focused on the good things. You know, I kind of overlook the bad things. But these bad games, I'm constantly trying to look for the good because I'm trying to find some redeeming qualities. This game doesn't really have them so much, unfortunately for it. But it was a cheap game. I guess at least it builds the collection that I'm amassing. So there's that. That's the good thing, I guess, right? Probably not the best thing I could have thought of, but you work with what you got. Oh man, you gotta do that when you got these terrible games. Anyway, I'm Joe from the Wrong Channel, and that was the second installment of Retro Review. Thanks for watching, stick around for more, because there surely will be some more in the near future. Have a great day! It went too far. Pumpkin seed in my throat. That's what it is. Pumpkin seed. Pumpkin seed getting me verklempt.